Walter D. McFarland presents the officers, skippers, crews, and members of Kiser Lake Sailing Club, Incorporated, and their families and friends. In Wind and Canvas, a Continental International Pictures production, Greenville, Ohio, USA. Copyright 1958 by Continental International Pictures. All rights reserved. Technical advisors Ralph Osgood, Mr. and Mrs. E.A. Yule. Dedication and grateful acknowledgement is made to Kiser Lake Sailing Club, Incorporated, for their splendid and amiable cooperation throughout, without which this picture could never be made. Filmed entirely at Kiser Lake State Park in Ohio, USA. Cinematography, Robert J. Butler. W. D. McFarland. Assistant, William J. Beasley. Film editor, W. D. McFarland. Narrator, Martin Waugaman. Original magnetic recordings, Robert J. Butler. Original musical score by Mrs. Elmer W. Wade at the Hammond Electric Organ. Original optical recordings, Capitol Film Laboratories and Film Associates, Incorporated. In sincere appreciation, Ohio's Department of Resources Division of Parks is to be highly commended for the unparalleled facilities to be found at many of its state parks.
When the few annual holidays roll around each year and quickly disappear in fleeting moments of our favorite pastimes or form of relaxation, some of us by sheer instinct head for our favorite lake, there to indulge in fishing or boating. But today especially we find ourselves arriving at our home lake burdened with all the gear of a confirmed yachtsman. We wonder, we ponder. Have we forgotten anything? Any small detail that might detract from the pleasure we so ardently pursue today? We're so excited. Whose sail is that already? Gee, they must have gotten here early. Just get a whiff of that breeze coming up over that knoll. Let's hurry. There it is in all its shimmering glory, and soon to be dotted hither and yon with white sail. It is the popular belief today that sailing is only for the adventuresome and Cadillac class. Yet this summer, you'll probably see more teenagers and families gliding over the waters in 8 to 20-foot boats than any other size craft afloat. And they're all Commodores of some accomplishment or other. The noticeable shift in sailing is all toward the smaller, more maneuverable craft. Boats you and I alike can work on ourselves if need be, even construct in our basement or garage, and find easy to moor or store. You and your family can experience all the joys, thrills, and exhilaration of sailing in your own sailing dinghy, centerboard sloop, or keel sloop for less than the price of a 2 weeks vacation. Removed from budget considerations, the kind of boat you should have depends upon where you live and the type of sailing you wish to do, racing or cruising, sometimes referred to as day sailing, or both. Basic sailing gear is usually stored in canvas bags and brought down to the boats from ashore. After the preliminaries of uncovering and rearranging miscellaneous equipment on board, wiping off here and there, we are now ready for the serious work at hand. The first job is to bend the sail sheets or fasten them to their respective positions. The mainsail is first. We check the halyards to make certain they run freely and are not fouled in their sheaves. The ends of the halyard lines are snap fastened to the heads of the sails. The task of bending the sheets is never completed until they have all been properly fastened down. Otherwise, the required tautness to hold the wind would never result. Before raising the sail, a thorough recheck of all details is in order. Life preservers in place, sails bent, boat bailed, anchor in place, is the centerboard down, and tiller and rudder in place. To hoist the mainsail, we haul the halyard line until the leech edge is straight with no folds, while the boom swings freely.
Before making departure from a slip, a decision as to the direction in which the sail must be made, providing there is no other boats or obstructions in your path. A boat may get underway on any tack that pleases its skipper. So if your craft moves out with its bow pointing over the port side, with the wind coming over the starboard bow, you are leaving on a starboard tack, while the reverse condition would result in a port tack departure. If you're the outdoor type, you definitely would fit in any sailing club fraternity, and more especially so if you get the slightest tingle of excitement out of seeing white sails listing to kiss the surging blue waters. If you can't help feeling a sixth sense of mingled pleasure and accomplishment from deftly skippering a seaworthy craft beneath you through the roughest of waves. Oh, for a craft as trim as it is neat, stout of keel it is as well beamed, with a sailing form that spells its skipper's dream, as seaworthy as is every scene. Making or fetching back into your slip mooring can be an easy enough task, provided you keep one fact uppermost in mind. Should your boat head directly into the wind, the sails will flutter, resulting in a loss of headway. So the thing to do then is come up to the slip to windward, and just before you reach it, turn directly into the wind and slacken your main sheet, causing the boat to come to a stop as if a braking action had been applied. The more abrupt the turn into the wind, the more effective the braking action will be. The forward motion of the boat is checked so effectively by the opposite force of the wind that if the boat is left to remain in that position too long, it will soon be moved backwards, making sternway progress. Following these procedures will bring your boat to a stop within a good arm's length or so of the slip mooring. One of your crew members should be in the forward bow, or at least forward of the sail spar, where he can easily cast out the mooring line so that someone on the slip can make it fast to the mooring cleat. However, should you miss your mooring, Bring the boat about again for another try. Always provide life belts for the youngsters. The timekeeper's task is a busy one, while loading and firing the signal cannon is her assistant's lot. With the trial runs all behind us, we now begin to maneuver for the big event, the cup race. So as we cast off our mooring line, we begin to make headway, bringing the tiller back to starboard so that the boat doesn't fall off too much. To the skipper and crew, the side from which the wind is coming is the windward or weather side. The other side of your boat is the leeward side. Let's take a look out there. Time's counting off. 10-minute gun sounds off. If the wind is coming over the stern of the boat and is pushing the sails, you are sailing before the wind, or running. If the wind is abeam, it strikes the boat at right angles, and you are then sailing on a reach, or reaching. If the wind comes from a position behind this, it is abaft the beam, and you are on a broad reach. When you sail to windward, you go against the wind, and should the wind be forward of the beam, you are on a close reach. Wind coming over the bow makes it necessary to sail close hauled, with the sail drawn up near the center of the boat. You can't sail directly into the wind or into the wind's eye. The sails will merely flap, and you'll lose headway. In fact, you may slip backwards and make sternway. So you will have to make headway on a series of zigzag legs, or tacks as they are better known, starting out, say, on the port tack, covering a part of the distance, and then come about on a starboard tack, and then back again to the port tack, and so on. Now let's see again. Only minutes now. Up goes the 5-minute shape. There's the 5-minute warning gun. Coming about is an important maneuver in sailing. It's performed whenever you wish to change from one windward course to another, passing through the wind. Let's say you have just completed a port tack. Swing the tiller sharply to starboard, heading the boat into the wind. At this moment, loosen the jib sheets so that the jib will not present any resistance to the wind as the bow swings past the wind's eye. As soon as the boat is nosed around far enough to permit the wind to come over the starboard bow, the jib must be trimmed. It will fill and push the bow of the boat around to the starboard tack. Let's make sure. Nearer and nearer now. Ready to go. Let her roll out, skipper. Be careful when coming about. The boom swings from one side of the boat to the other. If you aren't watching, it can strike your head or even knock you right out of the boat. The best insurance against accidents is to follow the skipper's commands. When he's ready to come about, he will call out, "Coming about!" At this command, one of the crew stands by the jib sheets, and when the skipper calls over and swings the tiller so that the boat heads into the wind, the jib sheet is loosened, and anyone in the way of the boom ducks. When coming out from a reach, gradually ease the boat into the wind, trimming the sails until you are sailing close hauled. Then come about smartly and fall away to the opposite reach. Sailing with the wind can be tricky. Contrary to what you may think, it calls for better seamanship than tacking against the wind. If the wind is directly aft, coming in over the stern, you are sailing under dangerous conditions. The main sheet is let out and the sail is at right angles to the boat. A slight shift of the wind can cause the mainsail and the boom to swing violently from one side of the boat to the other. This is known as an accidental jibe, and someone may be hurt. In conditions, the boat may be jibed, but it must be done deliberately, with the mainsail under complete control. The first rule to remember is that the wind and the sail must be on opposite sides of the boat. This means that the wind will not be coming in over the stern, but will be coming from abaft the beam. You will be sailing on a broad reach. Jibing might be called the opposite of coming about. In both maneuvers, the sail shifts, catching the wind on its other side. The difference is that you jibe when you are sailing with the wind, and you come about when you are sailing into the wind. Where's that lucky skipper? Ah, there she be. Steady now as she goes. Quick now, let's reload. Just a few more feet, baby. Waiting. Yank the line. At last, victory is ours. The big cup event is all over. The first reverberations of the signal cannon ring out, heralding the new champion. All are curious. Which boat? Who was it? But we are soon to know, for now, one by one, the contestants will be drifting back into the berths for a well-earned rest and relaxation period. Why did one lone craft cross the finish line ahead of all the others? Was it superior equipment, excellent maneuvering, or technique on the part of its skipper, or good fortune? Hardly just good luck. perhaps a combination of the first two. But those who sail before the mast know in their hearts the underlying reasons. The grueling test of mind and muscle, the practice, the experience, the constant study, and still more practice. The slip is approached most generally against the wind. A member of the crew should be up forward to see that the bow of the boat does not ram the slip. As you acquire skill as a skipper, you will be able to come up to a slip gently without banging into it. As the boat comes to a stop, it's heading into the wind and into the slip. Tie up by attaching one end of your painter to the slip cleat. Lay the line in the bow chock and make the other end fast to the slip. Sailing is over for the day. Now is the time to stop and chat, exchange neighborly greetings, argue the points of today's maneuvers over a cold beer, and sit back and relax with our families while the smoke from our cigarettes lift lazily toward heaven and into oblivion, while we gaze out dreamily over the falling shadows on the water with nothing more on our minds than some feeling of satisfaction, maybe even accomplishment. Bulging baskets are brought to bear. Tabletops under the shaded green are swished off, and sparkling clean tablecloths are unfolded with a dull snap and spread thereon. After which, mother and daughter place before us countless varieties of jams and jellies and delicacies nearly as abundant as the blades of grass on which we sit. Dad and some of his cronies dig in like they had fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Sometimes we wait years, even a lifetime, for something to come our way. During the active career of an exceptional skipper, this coveted dream can actually come true some Labor Day evening. With all our friends and families gathered round us, well fed, we eagerly await the annual cup presentation ceremonies. Speculation runs high, and of course we're all nursing our own pet theories as to who exhibited the most remarkable skill and feats of unparalleled maneuverability throughout the season, in this or that class, in this or that handicap. But in the final analysis, the judge's decisions will ease our minds once and for all and erase all traces of expectation or doubts as to who is without peer in any given event. It is with much pride and elation that we behold our very own as they stumble half-hesitating to the platform to receive their trophy, their childish awkwardness matched only by their giddiness. But all's in good fun and true sportsmanship. We love every bit of it. First, we turn it over and over, every which way, carefully reading many times over the engraved words that seem so personal. Then we carefully run our shaking, tingling fingers all over its smooth brass contours, and finally we sit back and just stare at our newly won prize. All is over, and it's time to get squared away. The children are called, baskets have to be repacked, tables cleared off, rubbish barrels filled, fires put out. But most important, Old Glory must be brought back to mortal level again and carefully put to bed. We wave our goodbyes and longingly look back over our shoulders at the lake as we step aboard our cars and hit the open road for home.
The End. Wind and Canvas. A Continental International Pictures production. Greenville, Ohio, USA.